I've been muted the whole time. My apologies, fixed now. Of course, I've been doing this without sound the whole time. I should have done a mic check to begin with. I apologize, everyone that's watching. So, I've been talking to myself the whole time. I apologize. So we're going through. We've downloaded the Hello MR SDK for the Nreal. Now I'm all messed up. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. I'm Stephen Hodson. I'm going to start over with the audio, which is always fun. I'm sorry about that. So what we've done so far is we've downloaded the NR SDK, and we're going to build out their example scene that they have called Hello MR. And the first thing we were going to do is we were going to make sure that we had our checklist set up for everything to get started and building and running everything. So we went through the hardware checklist to make sure everything was ready here. And we got all the way through this. We created our new project. I'd already went and pre-installed the SDK in, so save you guys a little bit of hassle of having to watch everything. And I went through and I just manually set up all of the player settings as through this this configure build settings. So what I wanted to do was make sure that we could build out to the device before we started doing our platform implementation. So we want to just make sure we can build and deploy, and then we should be then we'll start doing our actual integration into the XRTK. I'm going to just reply to some comments here in the chat, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, so we've gotten through setting up the example project, and we're going to try and build and deploy to the device just to make sure that everything is up and running. So one of the other things, I believe that the developer options are probably already set up. Let's see, Android debug bridge is enabled as default and does not require manual settings, so that's good. So we're going to connect the unit, and then we're going to build and run. So in Unity, build setting windows, click build, install your app through Wi-Fi, debug bridge after all is successful, disconnect the computing unit, and then connect the classes. If it is the first time you run the app, you need to authorize the app by some tools like, I don't know how to say that, but I'm not sure what this is. So I'm going to check this out real quick. All right. So I'll come back to that. I've never used that tool before, so we'll check it out. Let's see, launch your app along with the Nreal Lite controller. Okay, so we'll come back to that. All right, so let's try building and deploying in Unity, and we're going to try and deploy just the Hello MR demo scene that they got here. All right, so we'll try building, and we're just going to put this in just a temp folder called build. We'll call it Hello MR APK. Alrighty. Sorry about the audio issues, guys. I seem to always have that. It's been a little while since I streamed, so I definitely apologize for the lagginess on the audio. It's always like that first 10 minutes is always like a little rough if you haven't been streaming in a while. So I appreciate you guys for hanging around and sticking out that little bit of funny silliness. All right, so while this builds, I'm going to go back to the XRTK and kind of talk about this a little bit. So what the Mixed Reality Toolkit is it's supposed to be a cross-platform framework SDK. And really what we're going to do today is we're going to write a wrapper around the Nreal SDK just to kind of hook everything into what we want to do. So for the Mixed Reality Toolkit, we have a couple of different systems and services that run. And the one that I really want to get set up today, just as a basic thing, is the camera system. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create a camera data provider for the Nreal device so that we can at least get head tracking. And that's going to be about what I'm going to do for this. That's going to be about all I'm going to do for this video. If I can get there, that would be awesome. We'll see what we get, and we'll see how far we get through that video. Shouldn't be more than about 45 minutes to an hour, but if it goes longer, I don't blame you guys for dropping off. But if not, I mean, I don't mind hanging around and talking with you guys. In fact, I think what I'm going to do, if you guys haven't gotten on Discord yet, I'm going to actually say if you guys want to join me on Discord, we can do some audio chatting as well. It's probably not as fast as YouTube because I think YouTube has some latency to it, but that'll be up to you guys. Okay, so the build's still running, so this might take a minute. So I'll take a minute to take any questions you guys might have. Hopefully it's not too laggy. I hope my stream is somewhat strong. All right. Cool. Thanks, S. We're going to build the Hello MR app. Sorry about the quality again, guys. I don't really have the best internet where I'm at, so. And then plus with COVID, I'm sure everybody's using the internet. All right. Oh, well, while this builds, if you guys don't know how to set up ADB on your machine, you can always go and set the environment variable in your settings for your computer. Just type in environment. Find the environment variables for your machine, right? System properties. It'll be this environment variables thing here. You'll want to add it to the path. So what I did here was I actually added the one for Unity itself. So for that. Okay. So while this is building out, I'm going to go ahead and just show what we have for the Mixed Reality Toolkit and kind of show how things are kind of set up there and how that's working. So I'm going to pull up Visual Studio and we'll kind of go over some of the structure of how everything's kind of set up and how we're kind of doing business there. So with the Mixed Reality Toolkit, what we want to do is try and interface directly with the native libraries as much as we can. And we want to just provide a very thin layer over the rest of it. So going to go into our core. This is actually our, this is the root project in Git. So this is what you would get if you were to open up the Unity project. So this XRTK core folder is actually the Unity project here. inside of our packages folder, we have a Unity as a package. So each one of the packages for the XRTK is available through the Unity Package Manager. And you'll be able to download the previews for those when they become available for our release that's coming up for 0.2, which we're working on. So we do have a couple more chores that we have to do for that one. So we got to release our 0.2 hopefully by the end of the month. It keeps kind of getting pushed back because we want to go fully native for each of our platforms, and we're actually not using the Unity XR plugin architecture. We're actually going to be using everything native by default. So that's one of the other chores that we want to do before we go to our next release. All right. So it looks like it's still building here. Looks like it's almost finished. Let's see if Visual Studio is still taking a while. My computer's kind of slow, so I apologize, guys. I'm running like, streaming software. I got 2 versions of Unity going. I got everything going, so I appreciate you being patient with me. All right, so I'm going to pull open the Solution Explorer real quick just to kind of show what we got here. So closing these up a little bit, we'll look at specifically just the Nreal. See if I can find it. There it is. We're going to look at just the Nreal folder structure real quick outside of Unity, since Unity's being slow. So one of the first things we're probably going to need to do, we'll probably need to define the Nreal platform. All right, so we know that Nreal is going to be based on Android, so we're going to have to do a couple of things here. We already have another platform that's very similar to Nreal that is already running on Android, and that's Oculus. We've already got Oculus set up, so I'm actually going to do my best to find and to align what we're doing with that. So let's see here. Wow, this is so slow. I'm doing too many things at once. I'm building. I got 2 instances of the editor. I got Visual Studio going. I'm streaming. I definitely need to upgrade my machine. That'd be nice. Maybe I'll do that for Christmas. Okay, hopefully the machine is kind of catching up here. Yeah. Sorry guys, I thought I had everything pretty much set up and ready to go. I had set up the Unity projects already initially just because. But now you can see here we actually have all of our packages in the package manager, so they do show up here. For a couple of these we don't have versions yet, but for a couple of the others we do have versions that actually get published, and they are available on our UPM server. Which is available here. If you don't know how to add a static, or I'm sorry, a scoped registry for Unity's package manager, no worries, you don't have to do that. For the XRTK, we have a nice little package that does that for you. So if you go into the releases and you check out the asset package that we have here, if you download this asset package, it will automatically add that scoped registry for you. If you want to do it yourself, you can always find the manifest JSON file for your project and add this little snippet of JSON into your project. And that looks like this here. So this is the XRTK cores manifest JSON. And this is the scoped registry snippet that you would have inside of your project. Once you add this and you go back to Unity, then every single one of these packages should show up as long as they're there. And if you want to see preview packages, you will need to enable this. Okay. So it seems like we're kind of catching up here a little bit. I'm just trying to get through to this a little bit more. Inside of our Nreal package, our template generator created a couple of different things for us. It created this editor and runtime folders for us. Inside the editor folder, we have this Pathfinder and a little package installer that will be helpful for us later to install the scriptable object profiles that we use to store information about each platform. Then we'll also have a camera system, some controllers, and some spatial awareness. I don't know if Nreal's platform supports spatial awareness today. It does have plane finding, but who knows, maybe in the future. So we'll go ahead and keep that for now. But for the controllers, we have a controller data provider and the Nreal controller. If we are able to get to that today, that would be great. But the first thing we're going to look at is this camera data provider. So for the camera data provider and the platform are the two classes that we're going to fill out today. Okay. So let's take a look here. I think our build is still going. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty confident that's going to go. I just wanted to make sure that our build environment was set up and we were able to build out to a device. So for the Oculus platform, that also runs on Android. And for what we did with this is we actually get the version from their native API to make sure that it's able to be initialized in order to know if it's available. And then inside the editor, to know if the build target's available, we're going to go ahead and copy this stuff here because we want to make sure that we got this. So we're going to just kind of take some of this here. And then also we're going to want to use the platform override for Android to make sure that the Android platform doesn't assert itself over the Nreal platform that we're going to be creating. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull this out off to the side to use as reference. And this is so slow. I'm going to have to remember to upgrade my machine before I do any more of these live streams. All right. Do here, so we're going to check to see if this is available. First of all, we want to know that we're not in the Unity editor, so we're just going to override this and we're going to say not in the Unity editor, and for now we'll just leave that as is. But what we're going to want to do is come back to this and we're going to want to check the native once it finishes up. Wow, my machine is really chugging, guys. I'm sorry. I don't even know if I can. I don't know if this is gonna work. I'm gonna close Visual Studio. I think I'm gonna just use but it seems like Unity is having I'm sorry, my machine is having a hard time with everything that's going on. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to this file explorer here. and we're going to go to the Nreal, and we're going to open this whole folder in VS Code. So that should give us probably a little bit more. Oh, and the computer's just really slow. It's probably all the building I'm trying to do in the background. Okay, so now I should have just what I want here, which is this Nreal thing. We were finishing filling out this Nreal platform. All right. Okay, so we're going to check the native API to make sure that that's good to go. And then in order to know if the build platform target is available, we're also going to want to check this as well. I believe what we were doing for the Oculus one, I had the reference up open before, but I believe for the Oculus one, what we were doing is we were actually checking the player settings current build target as well. So we're going to have to go back and make sure that that is also working well. All right, so I'm going to just go up one. I'm going to go back to packages, and I'm going to go into the Oculus one and check out just the platform one and open that up inside of our Visual Studio instance here. There it goes. All right, so what we're doing here is we're actually using a compiler directive to override. So I'm just going to copy this little snippet here. I'm going to go back to the Nreal platform here, and I'm going to get rid of the API stuff because we still need to do that for what we want to do, and we're also going to get rid of the Windows standalone stuff because we are only going to be running this on Android. All right, so we're going to return if it is Android, and we're going to check the native API. All right. Otherwise, the build target is not available. So, all right. So the other thing we also want to do too is we're going to copy this little snippet for the platform overrides. So the Nreal platform will override the Android platform for what we want to do here. All right, so now this is mostly set up. We'll come back to this. We still need to add in the native API check to make sure that the native library is valid and is ready to go. For now, let's check on our build from the other one real quick. I think we're still building that out. Still taking forever, as usual, with Unity. All right, so looks like we're missing some platform references at the top of our class here. So let me go ahead and grab these real quick. Just gonna paste this in. We don't want Oculus plugins. I'm gonna remove that. That should be enough for what we want for now, though. All right. So for our providers and our camera system, I'm going to go down to this. So there's a couple things here in this base camera data provider that is taken care of for us. And it will essentially, what our camera data provider is going to do is it's going to get the camera's tracking position, and it's going to synchronize our camera rig for what we want it to do. So this will be the first step to get the camera working with the toolkit. And as soon as we get the head tracking, then I think the rest of it kind of comes in on its own. Once we get head tracking, we'll do the controller, and then we should be good to go. We can start building apps with the XRTK. Okay, so I've already finished this. I'm going to close that one out. I'll give Unity and Visual Studio a second to catch up here. Let's see here. So this should be good. These should go away now for the platform overrides, these two little errors. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the desktop here, and I already have the SDK for in our SDK. There we go, for Unity, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that in here into our project. Let's see if this build's almost done yet. Yeah, my machine is just going so slow. Okay, well while that's waiting to catch up, let's kind of go over what the camera data provider is supposed to do. So with the Mixed Reality Toolkit, we define a lot of everything that we do with interfaces to make everything really easy to understand, and you know exactly what to expect out of every component that will come out of the toolkit. So this base camera data provider does a lot of the work that's involved with synchronizing the camera rig. So what it does is it's dynamic. So for every different platform that we have, we're able to set up the camera rig and do all sorts of different things that we want to do for it. Oh, here we go. Looks like our build is finally ready here. All right, so that's going to take a second while it does its thing. I'm going to come back to. All right, so it looks like our build's finished here, so that's good. I'm going to take a look at what they have for their camera rig. So it looks right and center camera. Okay. All right. So this is their camera rig. They have a display manager, an app manager, a head pose tracker, and then the session behavior. So that seems pretty typical. This is a little bit atypical with the multi-camera setup, but that's okay. I think we can still handle doing that. Maybe they'll do the native graphics multi-view native API later. That'll be definitely something nice to see them add later. That way we can use the regular the regular camera component inside of the editor without having to have multiple cameras. Let's see here. Let's go check back on ours. Let's make sure we import this. So we're going ahead and importing the in our SDK into the XRTK. Now we're only going to use a subset of this. We only want to use the native libraries to just make sure that we have the head tracking enabled and to get everything going there. With the XRTK, what we want is just a very small thin layer over that. And we try to minimize the usage of mono behaviors as much as possible as well. So whenever possible for mono behaviors, we only utilize those in our UX components and for other needed required scene objects. And we consider everything in the scene as a UX element. So we try and keep all of our code and everything like that in pure C# classes and structures within the toolkit. And once this imports, I can kind of show how some of that's set up. Let's see here. For the moment, let's go ahead and take a look at this base camera data provider. So if we inspect this class and open it up, you'll notice that we actually implement this interface, iMixed Reality Camera Data Provider. And this interface essentially tells us everything that we would ever expect out of a camera data provider. So this is a little interesting. So in the Mixed Reality Toolkit, we have this concept of services, which are just plain old C# objects that get created and instantiated by the developer. And they are instanced and run inside of our service locator. And every single one of these services can have one or more multiple data providers. And the data providers just provide the low-level access to the hardware vendor's specific APIs. Oh, this is really slow. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this other Unity editor out. I just wanted to make sure we could build and deploy to the device, and it seemed like we did just that. Let's see here. See if there's a way to deploy. I can say install and then list the package, then uninstall it. We'll come back to this. I do want to make sure that we're able to install to the device, but we can come back to that. We were able to build and it seemed like we were able to build just fine with the Hello MR, so that's good. That was a good first step. And everything is so slow. All right, still waiting for Unity to catch up a little bit and for my computer to catch up a little bit. So one of the other important things with the Mixed Reality Toolkit as well, we rely heavily on scriptable objects. And we create this base scriptable objects called a profile. And so these profiles are scriptable objects, and all the scriptable objects do is contain the data for what we want to do. So for Nreal specifically, we'll have a controller data provider profile so that we can define the controllers. Maybe there's a left and right hand. I think for theirs, there's only one controller, so we'll probably end up getting rid of this. This is just something that our template generator created for us. But when we start doing hand tracking and they start adding hand tracking support, then maybe we may need to add this back in later. All right. Let's see if, all right. Seems to have caught up again. So inside of the camera data provider, this is going to do a couple of different things. This is going to set the camera's head height so that in every scene, no matter what platform you're at, it will essentially move the camera to where it believes your head height's supposed to be. I'm not too worried about this for the moment because for the most part, all of the augmented reality headsets like HoloLens and Magic Leap and a couple of others all start the camera at the origin, which is at 0, 0, 0. So I'm not too worried about the default head height for now. What we'll do is we'll come back to this if we need to adjust it. There's also some settings for the near clip and the far clip plane, as well as opaque versus non-opaque headsets. So we're able to do all of those things. And this is all in the base class, so every single class that derives from this kind of has all this stuff built in for it by default, and you're able to override these in your platform implementations as much as you need. So for the Nreal camera data provider, specifically I know for sure we're going to want to override whether or not the camera is opaque. So oh man, every time I type it's just going to be slow like this. I think I might just do it here. And I know that this is always going to be false, so I'm just going to go ahead and just override this to always be false so that we know we're on a transparent headset with a headset with a transparent display. Okay, Uh-oh, what's going on here? We got a bunch of errors. Oh, so all those warnings that we saw in their SDK is showing up here. I guess, so we have we have the CSC file here. What this does is we treat all of our warnings as errors in our project. So I'm actually just going to disable this temporarily so that we can kind of get around some of these, because I don't want to have to go in and clean up their SDK real quick. So I'm just going to disable this real quick and just remove it. So this should fix all those errors that we see in the editor for now. So it'll take a moment to recompile, and then we'll come back. Okay, so here we go. This was the Oculus one. So we got our Nreal platform defined. We still need to check the native API to make sure that it's available and ready for us to use, so that we know that our platform's ready. And then we also went through and we made sure to add the override flag for the camera about it being opaque or not. The next thing we're going to want to do for the camera data provider is we just want to get hooks into the native API to make sure that we can get the head pose position and make sure that we update that for our users. So we'll do that after we finish getting the native API for the platform to make sure that it's ready to go. Okay, so let's go back to Unity. Let's see if it has finished doing what it's doing. It will be slow. Goodness. Come on, computer, catch up, please. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and kill the process because it seems that Unity is taking its sweet time trying to figure out what it wants to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and kill that process and restart the Unity editor. All right, we'll go ahead and grab XRTK core again. We'll wait a moment while this does that. Okay, so while we wait for that, I'm going to go ahead and create a new branch in our Nreal submodule, and we're going to say initial platform implementation. All right, so far we've got our Nreal platform. We've just added a flag here to make sure that we don't that it's not available in the editor, and then we still need to add the native API check. And then this is for when we're in the editor and we want to have a service that runs when the build target is available. So when we're on the Android Unity build target and we've got Nreal installed and our native API is ready to go. Then we also added the platform override so that we make sure that we're overriding the Android platform, so that this is actually an extension of the Android platform. And then in our camera data provider, we still have this. So I'm going to go ahead and just stage and commit this so far. It's not a bad start. Sorry. All right. And then if you guys haven't worked with GitHub before, I definitely encourage everyone to try and help and contribute if you can. This is a great, it's open source. It helps everyone create better apps faster, which is always wonderful. But as soon as I push that branch up to the server, you'll see now that I can create a pull request if I want. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll create a draft pull request while I wait for everything to catch up here. And I'm gonna say initial Nreal Platform support. And I'm just gonna remove all of this, and this pull request adds the initial Nreal Platform support. Be great if I could type though. There we go. All right, and I'll go ahead and create a draft pull request for that. And then there we go. Still waiting for Unity to turn back on again. Sorry about the wait, guys. All right. So we were able to build and run. No, we didn't actually run it on the device yet, but the next steps is image tracking. That would be cool. Maybe we'll come back to that in a little bit. I do want to take a look at a little bit more of their documentation and just take a look at this RGB camera. Let's see what this does. So it looks like we're able to do some capturing for the camera, which would be really cool to do, like a remoting or anything like that, or being able to capture what people see on the device. So that looks like it's really interesting. I'm going to take a look at this observer view. Allows users to share their mixed reality experience with others who are holding a phone or tablet running AR Core. All right, so that's cool. So it's more like a companion application type of thing. So that's awesome. There's also a video capture, and we can also customize the phone controller. So this is really interesting to me, that you can use your phone as the controller using the Nreal platform. That's fantastic. That makes me super excited to get this platform up and running. Just for that alone, it sounds really interesting. Now, I don't think we'll be able to get to that today, but that does sound like something really fun and interesting that we want to do. Okay. Just go over a little bit more of these things. So it looks like they got 6-DoF tracking using 2 SLAM cameras for their headset, which is really fantastic. They also got plane detection. So we'll take a look at maybe doing that to get the head height. And then also multimodal interactions using a 3-DoF controller. Now, I haven't seen anything about hand tracking. I know that is still in progress. That'll be really interesting to do. One of the things I wanted to do today was actually get the controller set up and to try and do hand tracking, but I'm having more technical difficulties than I expected, especially right now since Unity is rendering really strangely and is kind of offset here. Oh man, I don't know what's going on with this. This is really just not this is not updating at all. There it goes. Now it's finally kind of catching up here. Let's make sure that's full screen again. Okay. Boy, that was a little scary. I wasn't sure what was going on with this at all. So I just want to make sure that our settings for our project is set up correctly as well. So it looked like that for theirs, we definitely want to use, let's see, Android 8. And then also we're going to make sure that it looks like we're already using OpenGLES, so that's good. And then let's see here. Install prefer external, so that looks good. I'm sorry, external SD card. All right. And then resolution and presentation. Let's make sure to change this back to portrait here. And then the other thing I think we want to do too, I think we're going to go ahead and just disable this right here. I'm not sure how that's going to interfere with what we're doing, but I do want to make sure that that's disabled. In the future, all of the XRTK stuff will not be using Unity's built-in XR settings. We're going to be managing all of that stuff ourselves. Okay. So still waiting for Unity to kind of catch up here. all I did was disable this thing, but I think it's going to go and do a bunch of other stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look. While we're waiting for that, we'll take a look at more of the Nreal things here. Looks like they got a testing tool. It's like an emulator running under the Unity editor play mode, and you get inputs as usual. That's really cool. That's interesting. And then third-party integration. Ooh, I wonder what that's all about. So running face detection algorithms and things like that. That'll be pretty neat. I wonder what they're going to be doing for this, and if and which third-party platforms they want to use for that. It'd be really interesting to see if they open it up to any cloud service provider. I know that Google has some. Also Microsoft using any of the Azure services would be really interesting and really cool to do as well. So we'll see what happens. All right. It's also compatible with native Android apps, so that's pretty interesting. I'm wondering, and I haven't got to see this exactly myself, but the Nreal glasses are compatible with native apps. So as long as the app is installed, they can view all the app activity going on through their glasses. So this is really, really interesting. To make the 2D apps more immersive and three-dimensional, you can use the Nreal SDK to add on MR features or 3D virtual objects to the existing app, to the existing native app. Now that's pretty interesting. I'm wondering what this is about, because that's kind of an interesting thing here that I wouldn't mind knowing a lot more about. Okay, let's see if Unity is finally caught up again. Cool. Okay, so we finally gotten a little bit closer with all of the slowness of slowness of my computer and trying to stream everything. Okay, so one of the things I want to do next is I want to get the native API for what we want to do. So we're going to take a look at their plugins here. So it looks like they have their Android plugin in our API here. And we just want to check to see the API version. So it looks like they have this version info thing here in our version info. So we're going to want to be able to get that. Now, because this is outside of the packages folder, it may be a little bit harder to get to for what we want to do. But for now, I think what I'm going to do is just create an assembly definition. It doesn't look like they're using assembly definitions to do this. I would rather use their scripts, but I think just for the sake of time, I'm going to just try and call their native stuff directly. Let's see here. So they got this native version. Where's this at? I'm sorry, you can't see my screen. Okay, so we are able to get the version. So we want to be able to get this version number from their API. The problem I'm going to have, though, is we use assembly definitions to kind of separate everything out from each of these. See, I thought I had closed these. Let's go ahead and open up the Nreal package again here. Okay. I'll go back into scripts here. I'm going to create an assembly definition just inside of this so that we can make it a little bit easier for us to grab it. All right, so that's going to take a second to recompile, and that seems to take forever. All right, it looks like it's going to be mad because we've separated some things out. The emulator. So it looks like there's some other resources outside of the scripts folder. Here it is, probably in this editor. So we're going to need to create another assembly definition for the editor folder as well. Man, I got a lot of patience for this. I'm glad that normally developing on my machine isn't this slow, but it would definitely drive me a little bit bonkers. So I'm going to go ahead and just deselect everything. Make sure we only run in the editor and on Android. And I'm going to go ahead and apply that for our editor assembly definition. And then I'm going to go back to our scripts folder, and I'm going to make sure that our assembly definition here only runs on Android. I think that's everything. It looks like we have more scripts in the emulator here. I think what I'm going to do for this is I'm actually going to pull out, and I'm going to actually pull that out into the root of the Nreal SDK. That should probably help cover everything that we didn't catch before. And now we should have everything compile. We will need to add a reference to the editor to the Nreal SDK probably, though. I guess we'll see how the references line up across that boundary. Yeah, so we'll need to, in the Nreal SDK, for the assembly definition references, we'll just add the Nreal SDK reference and then apply that. All right, now the assembly definition references, what this will do is it'll make it a little bit easier for us to call into. Ideally, in the long term, what I would like to do is be able to download their SDK from an online repository, much like you would with the Android tools as well, the Nreal SDK and others like that. Looks like we're still missing some stuff. I thought we added everything that we needed. Oh, you know what it is? I think I also need to have this run in the editor as well. And then for the editor one, I had that backwards. I'm so sorry. We actually want to uncheck for the Nreal SDK editor. We want to uncheck Android. We only want it to run in the editor. Sorry about that. I think I had it backwards, but that should be the correct configuration for what we want to do. I'm sorry about the mic being low. Let's see here if I can check that out real quick. It could be that I moved away from the mic. So I'm going to check my mic settings real quick. I'll be right back, guys. But it looks like we got this working. We got this assembly definition set up correctly, so that's good. Let's see here. I'm definitely not a professional streamer, if you couldn't tell. I would love to do this more. I just need to actually have a machine that can do it for me. Let's see here. I think this should be a little bit better. I did turn up the volume a little bit on my mic, so hopefully that should be a little bit easier for you to hear there. All right, so we got our assembly definition set up. So now we should be able to call on this a little bit easier from our Unity package that we're setting up. So with the XRTK, we use Unity packages for everything for what we want to do. In the final build for this, I do want to make it a little bit easier to reference the Nreal SDK And I'll work with Nreal on the best way to do that. But I'll definitely make sure to talk to their people and see how we can best accommodate that. But for other platforms, like for Oculus and for others, we actually embed the plugins here, and we actually copy these and include the licensing and everything like that. So, but we don't redistribute those. Those are all automatically downloaded for you using their platform content delivery networks and things like that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, so we have our Nreal assembly definition reference. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and add the NR SDK reference to our assembly definition inside of our package. And now the version API to make sure that it's there. All right. I am waiting on everything. Okay. It seems like Visual Studio is the one giving me the problems now. So I'm going to go ahead and kill that task. There we go. Not sure why Visual Studio got hung up there, but seems to always be some kind of issue. I think when you start, creating Unity apps, there's always something bound to go wrong that you seem to know what to look for whenever things do go wrong. Let's see here. So now the ref actually loads. But the next thing we're going to do is get the version number and add that to our Nreal Platform definition. All right, so it seems that we're kind of a little bit closer. I'm going to give it a few more seconds to try and catch up and make sure I got everything loaded in, like IntelliSense and all that other good stuff. This is quite frustrating how slow this is being. I guess I could have always just pre-recorded it and not did a live stream, but I just felt like live streams are more interesting and interactive, so. Let's see, it's still being kind of slow, but